Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to you to this. Well, now you can see that's more like a garden. I'm actually inside the house because it was raining right now, but we have a little garden here, a tropical garden in our house in Casita in Tihuatana. I'm Rama Flores, and I'm inviting you to enter to this garden, the emotional garden. We call it like this because, especially, I love that kind of metaphor. This is the second day of this event that we call Astonished by the Shadow. And we are trying to use poetry, stories, and some words, very humble words, to get into this emotional garden. Uh, well, today I'm inviting you to come with me. I mean, you are there somewhere. Please write if you can, if you want, in the chat, where are you and what's your name. So I can invite you to this imaginary garden. And as we walk through the little path, maybe some flowers here, some cacti there, some little pond or a little stream, as I love it, uh, trees of different colors and shapes, and especially fruit trees. I love them. We have here many fruit trees like coconuts. I love coconuts. I'm come from a place in the middle of Argentina, and when we moved here, I saw this beautiful tree, this palm, the coconut tree. So beautiful. It's like a mother. It's a bit dangerous if you are resting underneath a coconut tree because it could fall a coconut. I had that experience, but it's not the subject of this meeting. Uh, I want you to walk with me in this garden, and as we get to the center of the garden, there's a beautiful shadow because right now it's midday. I know that maybe in your place it's night. For example, Clara Luz in France is night. Now it's getting dark slowly. But imagine that we are in the middle of a very hot day, and we suddenly see this beautiful shadow underneath. We can say uh, a cinnamon tree, beautiful, and we go there and rest. The idea today is to rest in the shadows, to change the poetics of the words. I know that we're going to talk about the shadow as this something uncertain, something maybe threatening us, maybe pushing us to some kind of unpleasant situations. But I want to twist that words to show you that the shadow as well could be this beautiful place to rest, to relax, to lay down, even to dream. Uh, if we want to talk about the shadow in the sense of what we have been heard in so many places, especially from young Carl Jung, especially from the very important ideas coming from Sigmund Freud. We can assure that there are many things about shadows that are inevitably, in my perspective, uh, approached by this binary way to see life. If you remember the first class on Monday, we talk about ambiguity, we talk about contradictions, we talk about this very common way to see in a binary way life and take sides. In this case, shadow is not out of this frame. So when we talk about ourselves, and my shadow is something that is threatening us, is black, is dark, is bad. So when we talk about shadow, we first need to talk about persona, or you can say the mask. You, me with this shirt, with some I don't know how to say tucano birds on it. It's just a mask. We, you, and everyone need some kind of mask that we were preparing, like shaping them very carefully from our childhood. Since we were given the first words, we were preparing some kind of way to connect with everything. A mask is not bad in itself, it's just a way to connect with others. We've been for test and error, we were shaping this way of express ourselves, to connect ourselves, to answer to the connections, the dialogues, the conversations. Ooh, wow. Mm. Ways to express ourselves. That's our mask. And it helped us to survive life. Survive in the sense of the threatening of being completely naked and lost in this experience of life. So the mask is helping us to keep going, keep holding a name, an identity, some kind of likes and dislikes, yeah, and obviously influenced by memories and especially influenced by the culture we live. Clara Luz, if she's living in France and speaking French, it gives her, through the language and through all the signs, conscious or unconscious signs, to behave in that kind of environment, shaping the way we see reality. But not just the country. I mean, if I am a shoemaker, I relate my reality in the way I build my reality. So I'm gonna start to see people as shoes and soles and leather and how to say that, to nails and hammer. Or if you are a doctor, you're gonna start to explain your reality as the medical literature. So if you're a poet, you're gonna explain. That's the advantage of a poet or an artist. You can express what you feel and how you communicate to others through the mask, inevitably, with some kind of fluid way. But inevitably, the mask is all the time on. Sometimes we are more open to our family or our friends or our child or my parents. But obviously, always we have some kind of mask. Now, suddenly, suddenly, there's something that stings us, sting like a bee, being like mosquitoes here around me right now, and that's literally. Uh, we live in the tropical weather, so we have some kind of imminent threat with mosquitoes. But suddenly something sting you, an attitude of someone, a situation. It could be real, it could be just imaginary. Something is bothering us, it's bothering the mask, the way we create reality to feel comfortable, to feel controllable. And obviously, this that is stinging shows you your contradictions. The mask always had some kind of gaps, some kind of holes on it. So you are in some way showing something that you wouldn't show, or maybe you didn't realize that is going on in you, and you are showing to someone else, somewhere else, and that threatens you. It start to worry you. It start to make you feel some kind of fear, anger, denial. Obviously, that's the perfect reaction. Ashamed, uh, sad, or distract. Many feelings, many emotions when you realize that something is showing you your inner contradictions, but obviously you don't realize that. You see that is that person, is that situation, something from the outside that is threatening you. So this mechanism, this it was very good explained. I think this is one of the most beautiful things that Freud show us, to project all those mm, feelings that we don't put into the mask because we don't know, we decided consciously or unconsciously, or we received from childhood that it was good for some reason, it wasn't good for some reason. Our parents say, well, you shouldn't be weak. And suddenly when we are adults, our mask projects some kind of weakness in someone. So I see this person so weak, and suddenly I I get angry for that in a very exaggerated way, affecting my affecting me in my inner core. Why should this affect me? Just someone acting in a weak way, but I don't realize that I'm projecting this, but I don't realize this. I'm just seeing this weak person that is getting me mad. That's one of the signs that you can realize that the shadow is working on you. And when I say shadow, there's a very conflicting, that is a poetic word, but sometimes it's conflicting because in some ways they use shadows, in another perspective they use unconscious. Well, I think in a generous way, I can see that shadow and unconscious is the same thing. And what is shadow unconscious, or this dark side of us projecting those gaps from me to the others? What is that? This shadow, this mask, this frame, this kind of filter that we create, and we call it reality, identity, the way we see the world. Suddenly, when it interacts with the real world, not the reality we create, the real world, it makes something enter. There's some gaps, these holes, these holes. And as we create some kind of defense, the projection is just something that make us feel in some way comfortable or good. So can we see shadow? Just follow me in thinking this. Can we add the shadow, the aspect of something divine, or just we are so used to give the shadow these bad parts of us, the rotten parts, the dark side? Well, I think that answers are related to the way our culture, culture, the domain culture in the Western societies that are rooted in everywhere around the world, not just here. I am in Latin America, but this is uh, like westernized cosmovision is something that is everywhere around. We are associating dark, shadow, and the blackness or the darkness to something bad, to something uncertain, to something uh, threatening, like a dark wood. This is very archetypical. Just walking into this dark wood where at any moment you're gonna get, don't know, uh, chased or killed or hit or kicked. What if this black, this darkness, could be associated to something else? It's not just too much difficult to imagine. Every day you go to rest in the darkness. If you go to your room at night, well, most of us, we go at night to a room which is a very dark place. It's not full of light, it's dark. And we close our eyes, so we fall into darkness every day to rest. Every time you go to sleep, we go to sleep, we rehearse this kind of let it go as we rest. If you realize, just imagine that you are resting in your bed and you're just breathing, and suddenly you let it go and uh, submerge in the darkness. Every day, it happens every day. But darkness is at the same time in this tree that we are resting right now, in our garden, and especially maybe forgotten, but it's there. The memories, the remembrance of this state, maybe the most pure state of completude that we felt when we were in the wombs of our mother. A dark and at the same time perfect place, pure in the most pure essence, perfect place, where all the needs were given in this exact moment, with what everything was complete. There was no boundary between me and my mother. We were one, just one. That kind of darkness, and maybe the most mysterious darkness, maybe the darkness we will find when we give our last breath, and maybe some darkness, maybe some light. I don't know. It depends on the culture you are. But in the Andes, I'm always pushing to the Andes because it's the subject I've been studying for many years. In the Andes, darkness is called Yanantin. I'm going to write it here. And Yanantin, it has the root word is Yana. With Yana is a very complicated word. It's very confusing. It's full of contradictions because it means black. It means dark, and at the same time, it means to serve, to help, to protect, and at the same time, it means love companion, my partner, my husband or my wife or my girlfriend or my boyfriend, the one who is my love, my life companion, is my Yana. So how can you understand darkness and at the same time protection? That's a very crazy thing to see. Can you make a stretch in your perception and relate dark with protection? We are not used to that because our language denies that. Darkness with protection. I say that we had this protection when we were in the womb of our mother. We are having protection from any kind of threats when we go to the dark of our bedroom. So darkness, the shadow, in that sense, could teach us some kind of different lessons. It's in my point of view, and what I'm trying to point it out right now is that maybe the shadow could be some kind of way we all have to, through uncertainty, insecurity, unrest, and obviously feeling the affection that produce it, to learn some kind of lesson of transformation, and maybe shadow is pointing you out to something that you have to go through. Carl Jung used for the shadow, used two words that I think they're great. He used to say the shadow is like a narrow passage, like a narrow passage. So if you think about this in this metaphor, is saying you have to pass through something, some place, from this place to this other place. So it's inviting you to walk through. And this narrow as we were passing this narrow passage when we were born, and we are passing the narrow passage of any kind of initiations in our life. I mean, becoming from a child to an adolescent to an adult to a mature adult, middle age, crisis. Every crisis is a narrow passage. Is the perfect black soil to grow experience with your shadow. So especially you feel the shadow when this crisis. What is crisis? A crisis is just an affirmation that there are some contradictions in your life. There's something that needs to transform, to change. I remember some passage of Freud, which is so beautiful. He said that psychoanalysis, in some way, the cure, in some way, that brings psychoanalysis is the word for the metaphor for that is grief. And that's, I think, is beautiful, because grief is pointing out to realize that some part of something died, and the grief is leading you to move on, to change something, to realize that if something is dying, something else is getting born, getting birth. So as we walk through this passage, this initiation, this crisis, we can just pass through this narrow passage. With in the Andean tradition, they have this triady, this trinity way of see reality, of seeing the metaphor of life. One is to have courage to walk, the will and the courage and the you can say some kind of resistance to walk through this narrow passage. So you have to have will, and the will in the Andean traditions is related to our navel, our cosco, our uterus. The second thing we have to walk through the narrow passage is intelligence, because just in the in a gentle environment, that we need to find, we can pass more gently this situation, this narrow passage. So intelligence is not out of this game. Intelligence is part of the game. We need to have the perspective to realize that we are in a situation of change, a situation of crisis, a situation of contradiction. So the shadow is acting in that situation. So will and courage, intelligence and perspective, vision, and intelligence is related to our head, obviously, to the light, to the vision, to the perspective. And the last part is our heart, our open heart, to find some feeling of embrace, some guidance. They call it in Quechua language, Munay Sonko, which is related to the divine mandate. But it's not something abstract. Our heart is part of the heart of life. So if we can feel the resonance between my heart and the heart of life, we can be guided and guide at the same time, guide our way through this passage. This is a very important thing, because most of the Western traditions are related to the individual, and it's good, but I think it's not complete, we need to focus, or maybe we need to learn from the traditions that are rooted in the landscape, in Mother Earth, that the individual never is alone. So as we try to deal with the shadows, we are dealing with the collective shadows. And if we say that the shadow is some kind of bless that is guiding us to walk through this initiation, this narrow passage, maybe the shadow is just some expressions of the interbeing that we are part of. The Andean traditions believe that everything is part of the same fabric. You, me, the trees behind me, the computer, or the cell phone that you are joining us. Everything is part of the same interbeing. They call it Pachamama. And it's so interesting to connect this, because Pachamama is black. Pachamama is the nourishing soil. So the shadow, in that sense, could be the black soil that we nourish, we learn, we get inspired to open ourselves to different aspects that we didn't allow to come out because of our mask. And especially the artists, the mystics, the prophets, the painters, the musicians, the children, they are all nourished and inspired by this unconscious, by this shadow, by this black soil where is abundant, where is creative, is full of possibilities, is full of diversity. Did you realize that the same thing that is bothering us, the same black soil, the same darkness, is helping us to get closer to the maybe the most important expression, no, not important, essential expression of a human being, to give away some kind of beauty. And I'm not talking about just aesthetics, beauty in the sense of letting come out from us some kind of fragrance, like a flower. You know, that metaphor is so perfect. The plant is getting nourished by the black soil to grow, and suddenly in one beautiful afternoon sprout in a beautiful violet purple purple pea, as Zoe sent me this morning. So to flourish is part of this metaphor that we're talking about. To walk through this narrow passage is in some way to flourish. So the shadow is, we are agreeing with it. Maybe you don't. But if you follow what I'm saying, maybe the shadow is just this nourishment that is guiding us to initiate new cycles, new dances, new challenges, to end some cycles and to start new ones. Uh, I'm just I would like to read a poem, but I'm going to read it in just a bit later. It's a poem from a good friend of us from the Andean Mystical School. But first, I want to show you a little. Obviously, we love techniques, but I don't want to just show you a technique. I'm just showing you the obvious thing. How can we invite the shadow in? Because as we said, we project the shadows. We just throw the shadow out of us, very far away. So in this little dialogue, this experience that I'm going to show you, we are going to invite the shadow in, or invite the shadow back in. So the first thing is we have to ensure that we have some kind of issues with someone, with something that is honestly affecting us, is taking us out of the frame. We are used to just uh, express ourselves in some kind of ideal way of ourselves, right? Like this image of how we see ourselves. But sometimes we come out of that um, line. When we come out of this line, maybe with anger, maybe with fear, maybe with denial, all that we said, with sadness, with distraction, with worries, as we come out and we are affected by this, just isolate one of these situations. Maybe with a person, you get angry with a person. So I'm just giving an example. So choose this situation with this person, and you can write if you want, but at the same time, you can just imagine to describe this person that is stinging you, like uh, Carlos Castaneda showed this in a very interesting way. He called it pinche tirano in Mexican way. It's like someone that is stinging you. It sounds like on purpose, but it's not. It's just a projection. So pay the, pay attention to this person, to this someone that is affecting you, honestly affecting you. So you can write describing him or her or they or it. Describe it with thoroughly, like explaining what is bothering you, what is intimidating you, what is making you feel sad or afraid. Just describe it thoroughly. And then when you finish, you can read it again and try to be very accurate on this. And the second step, the second part, is bringing it closer. Because you know that something in this situation is related with the shadow, with your shadow, not their shadow, with your shadow. So, how can I bring it closer? This situation that you describe in the third person, he, she, they, there, very far away, you're going to bring it to a dialogue. You can imagine a dialogue with you and me, like talking to someone, or you can just describe it like a conversation. Write it down or imagine in a very calm session, just imagine that you are dialoguing and asking why this person is acting like this. why is why the reasons why they are doing what they are doing and is affecting me so much. Second person. And then the last part is bringing that shadow in. How can you do this? The same things that you were describing in third person and second person, you're gonna describe and write as you. Like, I am doing this and that. I am, I am. And with that, it's not just making it in a very superficial way. Just bring it in. Try to imagine yourself in all that it was bothering you in yourself. Describe it as your a part of you. It's like bringing in that it was projected in someone, bringing into you. So as you write it, you can read, but you can do a similar ritual, because it could be a ritual as well. Uh, Making a drawing in the first part, in the third person. Make a drawing of this person that is threatening you, is bothering you. In the second part, you're gonna how to say that, close this paper and put it in your heart and take it with you for several days and talk with him, like symbol there. And just the second step, just talk with him. Why are you doing this? It's like this person is here in your pocket, and talk with him. And the last bit, you're gonna take that piece of paper and you're gonna burn it. And as you receive the light of that burning, you're gonna project the shadows in. So all those aspects that you saw in this person are getting it back in. You are absorbing them. And maybe, just maybe, you're going to realize, not just logically, but even more in deep, intuitively, that you walk through some kind of initiation. So this is a very simple and gentle ritual, but we need to realize that we are all the time wanting it or not, accepting it or not, influenced by this shadow that is not, in our point of view, not bad at all. It's just a blessing. It's just a blessing. I know it makes us feel some kind of pain. It makes us feel some kind of suffering. But isn't it initiation, some kind of suffering, some kind of death? We were in the womb of our mother in a paradise, and we came out through some kind of suffering. So accepting the cost of this narrow passage, maybe we can enjoy the presence of the shadow. And I want to read, please accept me reading in English, this beautiful poem by Juan Carlos Mestre. Is a Spanish poet. And it's called Eclipse with Rimbaud. It says, I've spent half of my life in darkness. I've unloaded lorries of darkness. I've drunk all darkness. I've slept with darkness. I've loved darkness and lain with her. I've touched the stones of darkness until my hands bled. I repeated your name in darkness. Fishermen sing in the midst of darkness. Lifeless young are awake in darkness. The musicians and the horse kept their hearts in darkness. I've dreamt half of my life in darkness. I've lodged my youth in the hemp of darkness. I've undressed darkness and possessed her. With a shepherd's finger, I've struck the sex of darkness. Darkness is the prayer of the clouded accordions. Darkness is alive in words that decipher death. Darkness inhabits beauty's suburbs. Give food for barking to the dog of darkness. Listen to the sacred leprosy of darkness. Well, I'm going to send you that poem in the group, and then maybe you're gonna read it better in a better way. I have some difficulties, obviously, but I'm just giving you my hearted expression with it. Uh, I want you to just give a chance to realize that shadows could be someone or something that we can invite to dance. Shadows could be a simple and sincere message to transform something that we are just procrastinating. Just that, not more than that. A very simple and very gentle way. What if darkness and shadows are just another gentle expressions of Pachamama helping us to be in embrace and rest in those shadows? Well, thank you again for joining us to this little space of talking and expressing through words and some little rituals, some of the Andean traditions, cosmovision, and how they can help us in our real life, not just to see it in a very interesting way, but something that it could be real in our daily life. Next Friday, we're gonna come back again to invite you to dance. I mean, we're gonna try to bring together light and shadows. We're gonna try to change this battle into a dance. So please join us next Friday at the same hour, at the same time in this YouTube channel. And a big embrace, shadow embrace to you. See you next Friday. Bye bye to Barbara, to Clara. Big hug to you and see you next Friday. Bye bye.